In this video, we're going to talk about sinking funds, what they are, why you need one, and how to use them. So first, sinking funds are when you're setting aside a certain amount of money from your income on a regular basis for a specific goal. Oftentimes, sinking funds are kept in their own dedicated separate savings account, and when it comes to your personal finances, sinking funds can actually be a great way to start reaching some of your bigger goals that seem a little bit out of reach. So with sinking funds, you determine a target goal for how much you're saving in that account. Then you'll decide how long you're going to be saving that for. You'll figure out how much you need to be saving towards that goal per month, and you will put that money into that dedicated savings account. When you reach that target amount, you can then go spend it on whatever that goal was. So many people associate the term sinking as being kind of a negative financial term because it can be used when referring to someone who is sinking in debt. But with sinking funds, we are talking about quite the opposite of that. With big institutions, sinking funds can mean a strategy that they're using to pay off debt, but you're using sinking funds to actually prevent debt. You're saving up ahead of time, slowly chipping away at those goals so that you can spend that money guilt-free on whatever your goal was. Before we get into what bills and expenses you can use sinking funds for, it's important to understand that there really are no rules with this. You are setting those goal amounts, you're setting how much you want to save, how much you want to spend, so these are all just loose suggestions. But these are a few categories that are pretty popular for people to have as sinking funds. You could have a house sinking fund that deals with repairs or maintenance that your house might need, or it could be something more fun related to your house, like a remodeling project or adding a pool. Similarly, a car sinking fund is another one that people may use to either save up for a new car purchase, or again, take care of some of those repairs or maintenance, or save up for some new upgrades for your car. Some other common examples would be sinking funds for furniture, for a wedding, for gifts for someone else's wedding, or for a big vacation that you need to save up for before you can take. You may be wondering, what is the difference between a sinking fund and a regular savings account or an emergency fund? So like I said, with a sinking fund, it's always for a very specific goal that you have in mind, and it comes with a specific timeline. You're saving in that account for that one particular purpose, and you aren't sharing that money with any other accounts. Typically, a general savings account is kind of a catch-all for your extra money, and you can do with that what you want. A lot of people don't set specific goals for what they do with their money in their general savings account. Now, with an emergency fund, those are usually used as kind of a survival stash of 3 to 6 months of expenses, and you only spend it in an emergency. The whole point of a sinking fund is that, sure, you can use it to prepare for repairs or maintenance, but it can also be used as a fun savings account. There are definitely a lot of benefits that come with saving through sinking funds. So one of the first big advantages is that you can spend without that guilt. A lot of people who are consistent with setting money aside into their savings feel bad for ever spending it on things that they enjoy. So when you assign a label or a goal to these sinking funds, it's almost like giving yourself permission to go and spend that money and enjoy some of it on something you have worked hard for, that you have saved for, and that you will have fun with. Another huge advantage of using sinking funds is that you can plan big without falling into debt. So if there is an extravagant vacation that you want to take, or you want to spend a lot on a wedding or a home remodel, you can do that by saving up over a longer period of time, always setting aside that amount of money that you need to reach that goal, and it will allow you to start piling up those small savings every month to actually reach those really big goals. Another advantage of sinking funds is that using that money isn't going to cut into your other savings or your emergency fund. Mentally and physically separating those emergency funds and those sinking funds will remove a lot of that temptation to take money out of your emergency account for non-emergency occasions when you do have some extra money set aside for fun things. As far as how many sinking funds you should have, again, remember that there really are no rules with this, but what people commonly do is they set up a separate sinking fund account for each goal that they have. So for example, if you were saving up for a down payment and you were also saving up for a vacation at the same time, you would keep that money in a separate account, deposit your savings into those separately, and just always keep them separated. Some people do combine them into one account, but I find that when you do that, it's easier to cheat and move the money from goal to goal, and it can get a little bit complicated when you are actually ready to spend that money if you don't know the exact amount that you had saved for your other goals. So how much money should you be putting into your sinking funds? This calculation is super easy. What you're going to do is take an estimate of whatever your goal would cost. So for example, if you were saving $12,000 for a wedding, then you would take the amount of time that you have until you want to reach that goal. So say if you had a wedding in a year, you would divide that $12,000 by 12 months, and you would need to save $1,000 per month. Now, you can also do this by paycheck, by every other month, pretty much however you want to set it up. Set that goal for yourself and be consistent with depositing money into your sinking funds. And if you're unsure of the actual cost of your goal, it's better to estimate on the higher end of things. Now that you have your goal, you know how much you need to save every month, it's time to actually set up some accounts for those sinking funds. If you plan on meeting your goal and needing that money within the next 5 years or so, it's probably best to go with a high yield savings account. So you do want to make sure that whatever bank account you go with, you're earning at least a little bit of interest on it. That 0.01% interest rate that a lot of big banks give you is not very good, so try to find something higher than that. Banks that don't have physical locations often have a slightly better interest rate than other banks, and a lot of them also make it really easy to set up multiple accounts with them so that when you are using their app, you just have to log in once and you have access to all of your sinking fund accounts. Now, if your savings goal is somewhere between 5 to 10-ish years out, what you could do instead is consider opening up a brokerage account for your sinking fund. This way you can invest the money while you continue to save, and you're giving it more potential to grow through that compound interest that you get from investing. And there's likely going to be a little bit more potential there for that to grow into a bigger amount than what you would get with just that savings account interest rate. Now, you can definitely lose money, which is why you may only want to consider this if you aren't needing that money soon. If you are considering investing your sinking fund money, a great app to go with is M1 Finance. You can either build your own portfolio and choose your own stocks or ETFs, or you can go into their pre-made portfolios and just select one of those. But their platform makes it really easy to just set aside that money, set it and forget it, have it invested and working for you. And they do make it really easy to set up multiple accounts with them. So if that's something that you want to do to keep your sinking funds separated from each other, again, that's a great app to go with, and I'll have a link to it in the description. Something else that you can do to actually keep yourself accountable for saving towards these sinking fund goals is to integrate your goals into a budget, or more specifically, a budgeting app. Some banks do offer this feature as well within their app, but I'm thinking more of apps like Mint or You Need a Budget, where you can go in and link a savings goal to a particular account, and it will automatically track how much money you've deposited into that account that month, and they'll count that toward your savings goal that you set. And the good thing about that is that a lot of times with those apps, you can set it to where it sends you notifications if you haven't deposited the money that month, or if you're getting too close to spending too much money on your overall budget. As long as you are dedicated to actually setting aside that money every month that needs to go into your sinking funds and including that in your budget, sinking funds can be a really great way to reach your bigger goals. And hopefully this will save you from some financial stress and allow you to have a little bit more fun with your money. So again, if you are interested in signing up for M1 Finance for some of your longer term sinking fund goals, you can check that link in the description, and I will see you guys next time.